So you guys really seemed to like it when we did that Pulp Fiction 8-bit, like, a lot. So on today's episode of Things You Didn't Know, we're taking a page from Hollywood's playbook. We're taking something that worked once, and then doing it again and again until it's ruined completely.
Alan.
With that, here are 9 things you didn't know about Pulp Fiction. Probably. 20 years after Pulp Fiction's release, Jules' monologue before he executes Brett remains one of the most memorable moments in movie history. Even though Jules claims he memorized Ezekiel 25:17 in the scene, almost none of his speech is actually found in the real Bible passage.
I lay my vengeance upon thee.
A few key phrases at the end are indeed lifted from Ezekiel, but everything else Jules says is gospel straight from the book of Tarantino, also known as the Pulp Fiction screenplay. We all remember hearing Vincent talk about his '64 Malibu getting keyed in the movie, but you probably didn't know that Vince's car actually belonged to Quentin Tarantino in real life. Unfortunately for Quentin, the car was stolen during production. The Malibu resurfaced in 2013, 20 years later, when police arrested a couple of teenagers who were stripping it. They researched the VIN number and figured out it was Tarantino's car from all those years ago. Aside from the Malibu, another noteworthy item that appears in Pulp Fiction is Jules' wallet.
Which one is it? It's the one that says bad motherfucker.
Well, the real badass motherfucker was, apparently, Quentin Tarantino. It was his wallet which he gave to Samuel L. Jackson to use in the movie. See, my wallet says, "Please, not the face," on it, which would have played a little differently in the movie. Wallets aside, the most important prop in the entire movie would have to be the mysterious briefcase. To this day, there's a pretty nice chunk of the internet devoted to theories on what's inside of it. Whether you think it's diamonds or drugs, or you're in the camp that thinks it's Marcellus Wallace's soul, you're all right. In an interview with Howard Stern, Tarantino eventually revealed that the contents of the briefcase are whatever the viewer wants it to be. Personally, I've always figured it was Gwyneth Paltrow's head. And for those of you who aren't fans of using your imagination, we also know what was literally in the briefcase: 2 batteries and a light bulb. Tying into the different briefcase theories, there has also been plenty of speculation about what the deal is with the Band-Aid on the back of Marcellus's neck and how it relates to the briefcase or the overall story. Sorry guys, but it turns out that the bandage has no meaning. Ving Rhames had just cut himself while he was shaving his head. Tarantino liked the look of the Band-Aid and decided to run with it. He felt it made Rhames' character seem more mercurial, so much so that it inspired him to make sure we meet Marcellus's Band-Aid before we ever see his face. It's not easy to make it funny for a guy to get shot in the face, but Pulp Fiction manages to do just that when poor Marvin's head gets turned into a Jackson Pollock painting.
Stop it.
But I'll bet you didn't know that Marvin was originally supposed to be shot twice. Vince was supposed to shoot Marvin in the throat accidentally, and then would have to shoot him again in the head as a mercy kill to end his suffering. Eventually, it was decided that making it one accidental kill shot would play a lot funnier and keep Vince a lot more likable. By the way, actor Phil Lamar, who played Marvin, wasn't even around when they filmed the scene. They built a dummy Marvin that was rigged to blow brain chunks out the back of his head. The dummy is also the body we see in the trunk of the car, which, now that I'm looking at it, definitely looks like a dummy in the trunk of a car. As long as we're talking about bullets, remember the scene with Alexis Arquette and his really, really terrible aim? Yeah, well, you probably didn't notice that the bullet holes in the wall are there before a single shot is fired. I'm not a big gun guy, but I'm pretty sure that's not how bullets are supposed to work. When Pulp Fiction was still in the casting phase, John Travolta went to Quentin Tarantino's apartment to talk about the role of Vince, and definitely not to talk about massages. To Travolta's surprise, when he arrived at Tarantino's address, he had arrived at his old apartment from years before. Travolta had rented the exact same place back when he'd first moved to Hollywood. He lived there until he got his big break on Welcome Back, Kotter. Even though it went on to be the #1 top-grossing independent film of its time, Pulp Fiction was made for a pretty modest $8.5 million. The only way to do that was for all the big stars like Bruce Willis and Uma Thurman to take pay cuts. Producer Lawrence Bender figured the fairest thing to do was to pay all the stars the same amount, which wound up being $20,000 a week. Most of us don't live in a universe where 20 grand a week is a pay cut, but let's just move on before I get very depressed. For example, John Travolta worked on the film for 7 weeks, so he only made $140,000. But don't feel too bad for the Pulp Fiction cast. The major stars also had points on the film's profits, which wound up being $214 million worldwide, which translates into a lot of Kahuna burgers.
This is a tasty burger.
Well, those are all of our things for this episode, but leave a comment if you have some other Pulp Fiction trivia or if there's another movie you'd like to see on the show, and we'll get our team of interns to start researching. Nah, I'm just kidding. We're not allowed to have any interns until those charges get dropped. Thanks for watching, and subscribe to Cinefix for more true-ish things about movies right here on Things You Didn't Know.